Well, Yankee fans, you can't scream at the tides. Aaron Boone is sticking around.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast we talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram at Sully Baseball Podcast. Once every 48 years, I'm on something called Blue Sky at Sully Baseball, but the best way to get a hold of me is right here on YouTube. Put it in the comment section, and I swear we will read your comments. Today's episode brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Download the app and head to FanDuel.com to get started. We're going to talk a little bit about Aaron Boone's contract extension with the Yankees, kind of change of philosophy of the Yankees that some of us grew up with, and of course, the games have begun. And we're one game in, and already there's been one grisly moment. Not talking about Bears. Let's talk about the trivia question. I was talking about the Angels. The Angels came up discussing Mike Trout in yesterday's episode, and my trivia question was, who hit the only World Series triple in Angels history? And we got a couple of guesses on that. Scott Horstmeyer, who is a everyday Sully listener, says, I guess for the only triple in World Series history is Darren Erstad. Very, very good guess. Erstad got a couple of very big hits in that World Series for I think they were the Anaheim Angels at the time. Yeah, they're the Anaheim Angels. They've been California, Anaheim, Los Angeles of Anaheim, and Los Angeles without moving a foot from their stadium. But no, that is incorrect. The correct answer was by John Cox, 1488. Says it's Scott Spiezio. He said, I was fortunate to attend two of the games in San Francisco as part of a television project for a national sponsor. Good times. Yes, the answer is Scott Spiezio got a triple in the 2002 World Series for the Angels over San Francisco. Spiezio also got the huge sort of series-turning home run. Remember the Giants were up 5-0 in a potential clincher game, and it looked like they were just playing out the string. And much to the consternation of my late father, Dusty Baker removed Russ Ortiz probably a little early, and it was Spiezio's home run after fouling off 6,000 or 7,000 pitches. He had a home run just beyond the reach of right fielder Reggie Sanders that made it 5-0 to 5-3. And it was one of those home runs. Did it give him the lead? No. Did it tie the game? No. Did it even bring him to within one? No, but it changed the complexion of the game. And that Angels team, everyone was roided up the yin-yang at that time, so it was kind of a level playing field. That Angels team could rake. And they had the likes of Erstad. They have the likes of Tim Salmon. They have the likes of Garrett Anderson and Troy Glaus. But it was Spiezio who got big hit after big hit. And later, when he was with St. Louis, he died this little Van Dyke. Is that what it was? I don't know. It was a little soul patch there. He died red and got a bunch of big hits for the St. Louis Cardinals, picking up his second World Series championship for his troubles. Big news today came out of Yankee camp, and Aaron Boone now has a 2-year contract extension attached to his 2025 contract. So he is going to be under contract as the New York Yankee manager for 2025, 2026, and 2027. Now, I can say all sorts of snarky things, like saying, rejoice, Red Sox fans, or dry your tears, Yankee fans. Let's just be open and discuss this. Aaron Boone, assuming he's going to stay as the manager of the Yankees, because if he didn't get fired after the losing the wild card game in 2021 to the Red Sox and getting clobbered by Houston, swept in the 2022 ALCS, and then missing the playoffs in a really bungled season in 2023. If he didn't get fired after all those years, and some of those years he didn't even have to get fired. His contract ran out. His contract ran out after the 2023. They just sort of said goodbye. If those years didn't lose his job, certainly he's not going to lose his job coming off of the first pennant the Yankees have won since 2009. And we've seen that that loyalty in the current Yankee world is king over everything else. And there's full disclosure here. In 2023, I did an episode of Locked On MLB that said fire Boone now. I also said that they should fire Cashman as well. I've not been a Cashman fan for a while. Back in the old Sully Baseball podcast days, I called for his head multiple times, pointing out the fact, and this is I'm not as a Yankee fan, just saying, I don't understand why he still has the job. Yes, he did a great job back in the late 90s, inheriting the team that was built by Showalter and Stick Michael and Bob Watson. He did what he had to do, kept the franchise going, kept the dynasty going. But I said many times, you can't start judging what Brian Cashman has done running the Yankees until the core dissipated. And basically, you can start judging what he's done from the moment Derek Jeter broke his ankle in the 2012 ALCS, because at that moment, that was when the core years ended. Rivera was around for one more year. Jeter did his victory lap of 2014, but the Yankees missed the playoffs in both of those years, remember? And they missed the playoffs 3 out of 4 years at one stretch. And eventually he put together a good team, and they faced a cheating Astros team. They were. Astro fans, come at me all you want. They also faced a cheating Red Sox team. Come after me all you want. So maybe they would have won a pennant then. I don't know, and neither do you. And since Girardi was let go after 2017, Boone took over the team, and now they've had one pennant. They won a handful of division titles, not as many as you think when you stop and think about it. And here we sit. Now, you could say at one point that the Yankees have had great success under Aaron Boone, right? I mean, he's had 200-win seasons. They've made the playoffs all but 6 out of the 7 years that he's been the manager. And they've won a pennant, and they've gone to the ALCS in 2019, 2022, the pennant last year. And he has a 584 winning percentage. So, by those metrics, he's a successful manager. Anyone who watches the Yankees day in and day out see that he makes bizarre managerial decisions throughout the year. And also, what it meant to be the Yankees was winning pennants and championships, and now it's, hey, they're having winning seasons and making the playoffs. That's a significant downgrade from the spoiled rotten Yankee fans who came of age during the Joe Torre years. There's nothing about Aaron Boone that is overtly horrible, and there's nothing about him that's great. He just seems to be a vanilla ice cream manager, a crouton, lettuce. I mean, there's sometimes, yes, he makes absolutely boneheaded decisions as a manager, and it drives Yankee fans crazy that he has a sense of that he seems to have a sense of complacency as the manager. Hey, we're within reach. Hey, everything's great and everything's hunky-dory. And I think that that's part of the new culture of the Yankees. I know it drives Yankee fans crazy, especially because they want to see this team get to the next level. And I don't just mean making it to the World Series once in a decade and a half. And let's face it, the World Series ended with a bad note for every Yankee fan. There's a bad taste in every Yankee fan's mouth of how that World Series ended. I mean, I think if I surveyed 1 million Yankee fans and asked them, would you have rather the Yankees have lost 10-0 in Game 5, just get absolutely have the doors blown off the dump, or would you have had what happened, which was an epic collapse in the 5th inning that is married with the epic collapse in Game 1, a game that Boone horribly mismanaged Game 1. And he has been outmanaged many, many times in the postseason. But the decision to bring Nestor Cortez into that situation was a catastrophe. If I polled those a million Yankee fans, I bet I get a million Yankee fans said you'd rather lose 10-0 and be able to say, yeah, they were the Dodgers were the better team, as opposed to clank off the glove and Volpe throwing it away, no one covering first, hit. That the fifth inning wasn't Boone's fault. He did bungle the bullpen afterwards. He didn't. He brought in Canely. Probably should have had Holmes starting the eighth inning. So if Holmes got in trouble, he wouldn't have to. Canely wouldn't have to do the 3-batter rule. Whatever. He didn't handle the bullpen towards the end of the game great. But there's nothing about Boone that is difference making as a manager. There isn't. And over the years, there have been other candidates, including my beloved Bruce Bochy's lieutenants, that include Hensley Mullins and Roberto Kelly, two people with Yankee ties. Roberto Kelly is a former Yankee All-Star who was on the coaching staff of 3 World Series champions. Sometimes you need to have something to shake it up, to shake up the culture of the team, because there is a sense of stagnancy with the Yankees, and the fact that they won the pennant last year is basically confirming to the Yankee organization that, all right, full speed ahead. And I don't think Aaron Boone is going to be the difference of winning a pennant or not, but he's certainly not going to be a great help. We have a sample size that's 7 years that shows that he's just there. There's nothing about him as a manager that raises the level of the Yankees, which is ultimately enraging to Yankee fans, because the parity in the American League shows that you don't have to be a great team. There is no great team in the American League. If the Yankees were very, very good, they would stand heads and shoulders over everyone else. Right now, I'm sure some people are picking the Yankees to win, and they have as good a chance as anyone else. But that's part of the problem for the Yankees. As anybody else, they're just another team in the American League. Since the collapse in 2004, the Yankees have been to 2 World Series. 2. They won one in 2009. They went on a shopping spree, as well they should have, and they put together a tremendous team, and they earned that World Series title. And they won the pennant last year. Again, they earned it. You can't take that away from Boone. You can't take that away from Cashman. But that's it right now. Bunch of trips to the playoffs, a lot of very unmemorable teams, and the 2019 team was a really big year for Yankee fans. That was a really exciting year. But what other team is a beloved team they haven't on this squad? Well, what it is, it's a change in culture. It's a change in culture with the Yankees that goes from the top. And as I've said on this show before, there's been a lot of revisionist history about how the Yankees were under George Steinbrenner when he was at complete control. And maybe this is a chance that the son is showing he's somewhere very different from the pop. When the game tips off, the NFL action is just getting started. There's no better place to get in it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. Even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it helps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing the Celtics to have a late-game rally or picking player to a clutch 3. I never miss my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. And by the industry. We're doing them live, folks. We're doing them live. Right now, new FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I'm not saying anything you don't know if you're a baseball fan, but obviously Hal Steinbrenner is doing everything in his power to not be his dad. His dad was impulsive. His dad, George Steinbrenner, made wild, back page headline grabbing decisions. That's not who Hal Steinbrenner is. Now, a lot of Yankee fans want Hal to be more like his pop. Make those, not be complacent with this, not be complacent with that, sign the big free agent here, make the big trade there. Now, the legacy of the Yankees as it stands right now is one of stability. When I was growing up, my earliest baseball memories were the late 70s, the real Bronx Zoo with Billy Martin as the manager. Reggie Jackson was there. It was tumultuous. One of my earliest baseball memories was the death of Thurman Munson. And throughout the 1980s, the Yankees were a franchise of absolute chaos. Absolute, there was no stability whatsoever. And through that decade, they put a good product on the field left and right. Now, this was before extended playoffs. Only 4 teams in all of baseball made the playoffs each year. There was American League and National League East, American League, National League West. So in order for the Yankees to make the playoffs, they had to finish in first place. They had several teams throughout the 1980s that under extended playoffs or wild card probably would have gotten in. The 1985 Yankees probably, if they had gotten off to a better start, probably would have won the American League pennant. They were a very good team that year. I was going to say that's Billy Martin's last gasp, but no, Billy Martin also managed in 1988. But there's this sort of romance of George Steinbrenner signing Catfish Hunter, signing Reggie Jackson, signing Goose Gossett, trading for this, trading for that, making managerial changes in the middle of the year that worked. It worked in 78 when they fired Billy Martin and they brought in Bob Lemon, and they went on. That Yankee team went on to beat the Red Sox in the Bucky Dent game. In many ways, that was the worst thing that happened to the Yankees because in Steinbrenner's eyes, okay, now I know the formula, chaos. And Yankee fans who want to go back to the days of George Steinbrenner are forgetting what that chaos wrought. It did not bring any titles after the Bucky Dent year. 0. Only one more trip to the World Series in that great run before Steinbrenner got suspended in the early 1990s. There's talk about George would be spinning over in his grave. George made so many stupid decisions, so many ridiculous decisions. And they were impulsive moves that included trading away a future Hall of Famer in Fred McGriff, a future MVP in Willie McGee, a future World Series MVP in Jose Rio, a future Cy Young Award winner in Doug Drabeck, many solid major league shortstop when they had a revolving door at shortstop like Greg Gagne or Jose Uribe could have filled in beautifully in there, but no, they were making all these crazy impulsive trades. It blows my mind that George Steinbrenner's legacy is that of, he always wanted to win. He made all these great decisions. You remember the scenes in Seinfeld when George Costanza was going on saying, you've been an embarrassment to the city of New York and turning our Yankees into a laughingstock. Remember Frank Costanza yelling about, what are you doing trading Jay Buhner? You know what the hell you're doing? Or in the Ken Burns special where they talk about how that came out in 94 and the whole section on Steinbrenner was he was ruining the Yankees. And it wasn't just great players he gave up on. He fired Dick Hauser, who before he tragically died in 1987 or 88, he was a tremendous managerial candidate and took the Yankees to the playoffs in 1980. They fired him, and he wound up winning the World Series with Kansas City. Lou Piniella he got rid of, who won a World Series with Cincinnati. Hal Morris was another young player he traded away, became a key player on a World Series winning team for the Cincinnati Reds. So the chaos that came about under George is not something you want. It did not lead to championships. And when the team started winning in the 90s, it was because of the foundation was laid down when he was suspended. And he was kind of chomping and foaming at the bit to make a change, but he couldn't because they kept winning under Joe Torre. And the nanosecond they lost the World Series, chaos came back. Now, it was not in the manager, but they were starting to sign players and everything like that, and they couldn't win a World Series for a while. Remember that? But the fact of the matter is, now when I was growing up, being a Yankee GM was a temporary job. The late Rudy May, who was part of the 1981 World Series team and was a guest on the podcast, uh, on the old Sully Baseball podcast about maybe 10 years ago or so. I remember he said that when he would go into the clubhouse at Yankee Stadium in 1980, 81, 82, he would come by the clubhouse manager and say, "Hey, who's our manager today?" That chaos. That was the Yankees a lot of us grew up in. Now, the stability of the GM job and the managerial job, it's like they signed the same contract the Pope signed. Since Steinbrenner's reinstatement, or since the strike of 94, which is really the beginning of this current era of Major League Baseball, there have been one, two, so that was since let's just say the last 30 years. Last 30 years, 1, 2, 3. Yankees have had 4 managers in 30 years. There were some years in the 80s they had 3 managers that year. And they've had the same general manager. Oh, they've had 3 general managers in 30 years. And you take a look at, 12 years with Joe Torre. There was 10 years with Joe Girardi. At the end of this contract, it'll be 10 years with Aaron Boone. Now, maybe there's a mid ground, because I do think there's a staleness with the Yankees. I do think that Cashman's been there since 1998 as a general manager. I think you need to shake things up a little bit. And it's tough to do that when they're the defending American League champions, but here we are. Somewhere between absolute chaos and anarchy under George and complete stability no matter what under Hal, I think there's probably a mid ground. There's somewhere in between where every once in a while you mix things up and say, do you know what? It's getting a little stale here. We need a new set of eyes, a new perspective. But I don't think that's going to happen. And Yankee fans, your team could very well win the pennant this year. They could. It could be back-to-back trips to the World Series. And if that happens, you're doing what what any franchise in the world would be thrilled to have. And the Yankees are now just another team in the American League, one who contends a lot, to be sure. But there's nothing about them that says, oh man, they're the big bad Yankees. They're going to have contending years, and every once in a while, they'll get to the World Series. And this current iteration of the Yankees seems fine with that. And if you're a Yankee fan, I'm not saying you're going to have to be fine with that, but here's what you have to do. You have to make peace with that, because that's what reality is. And fighting that is screaming at the tides. You want a good snack? You want a good snack in the middle of the day? I'm running around. I go from my class and doing a bunch of things during the day and then coming in here to podcast. I need a snack that's both delicious and nutritious. And then I crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful pistachios, one of the highest protein nuts. 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% of your daily value. Plus, they packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep feeling fuller longer. I love a no shells variety. If I have the pistachios, I'm not here to shell a pistachio. It's not my thing. It's a perfect grab and go snack. Boom, pistachios, boom. Sometimes I'm at my desk. Sometimes in between classes. Sometimes I'm ready to prepare for this. Boom. It's always my go-to. But if shells are your thing, I don't judge. Okay, I don't judge. They have the in-shell, out-shell option. It's fantastic. They pack so much protein in that little green wonder. And whether you're running between meetings, wonderful or getting ready to do a show, pistachios, wonderful pistachios. They're the snack that works as hard as you do. I couldn't even get that sentence out. Get snackin and get crackin with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Wonderful pistachios. It's in the name. I feel like I need spring training for reading some of these ad reads. Yeah, the games have begun. I had a great thing happen in my class today. Some of you know I'm a special needs teacher in Pasadena, California, when I'm not the host of your favorite daily baseball podcast. And one of my kids, who's we'll just call him D. He's been in my class for a bunch of years now. He's a huge Dodger fan, wonderful young boy who's on the spectrum and in my class, and he loves his Dodgers. And so I was able to, during lunch, this is how good a teacher I am. During lunch, I was able to go on my MLB.com app and pop up the spring training game between the Cubs and the Dodgers. I said, here I go. Here we go. Here's how good a teacher I am. I'm going to show my buddy D some baseball during lunch. And we sat back. I sat next to his desk. And I said, this is live, buddy. And he was like, it's live. He said, yeah, it's live. It's a new game. And we sat back, and I felt like the best teacher around. Other kids are doing their games, their puzzles, doing their things on their device or whatever. But during lunch, me and D, we're going to sit down and watch some of this game. Just, it's a spring training game, but it's better than nothing. And I turned it on just in time to see Bobby Miller of the Dodgers take a line drive off the face. It was out of phantasm. It was just boom. And he's on concussion protocol. And I'm like, there I go. Good job, Mr. Sullivan. That's what they call me. They don't call me Mr. Sully there. Good job, Mr. Sullivan. You turn it on in time for just this terrifying injury. Now, granted, Bobby Miller did get up on his own power, and he did walk off the field. He has to go through a concussion protocol. Do you know why? He had a baseball off the face. But I just felt like, wow, there you go. One game in. And Bobby Miller, bless him, the Dodgers need him to be healthy this year because, they won the World Series last year, and they did so with a cut and paste starting rotation that was filled with just an intense number of injuries. And one of them was Bobby Miller, who, last year made 13 starts, and he was very good his rookie year. His rookie year, he was terrific in 2023. And he gave the Dodgers exactly what they needed with 20. They made 22 starts his rookie year. Last year, he made 13 starts and was not on the postseason roster. So they need this young pitcher. He's going to be 26 in just a couple of weeks to be healthy. So the best thing to do is Mr. Sullivan to turn it on and have a line drive right off the face. So hopefully that's not a harbinger for things to come. But anyway, it's time for the trivia question. We talked a little about Yankee managers. The Manager of the Year award was created in the 1980s. Since then, how many different Yankee managers have won Manager of the Year? How many different Yankee managers? And bonus for you if you can tell me who they were. So how many Yankee managers have won Manager of the Year, and who were they? That is your trivia question for today. So follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And follow us right here. Like, subscribe, tell people to follow the show. And if you're listening to the show or watching the show every day, put that hashtag on EverydaySully. It helps us know who's listening to the show. Talking about the fact that one Steinbrenner is gone, the other Steinbrenner is here, and there's a new mentality that Yankee fans are just going to have to realize. Stability is the name of the game. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.